Ella-Rae Smith, welcome to the SoundFusion podcast. Really
you.
appreciate you coming down today under these difficult circumstances.
What difficult circumstances?
Well, lockdown and
Oh yeah,
COVID
but it doesn't
and all
feel
that.
like real lockdown anymore.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you know
I guess
what
so.
I mean?
Things are starting to go back to normal,
Yeah.
but still not easy though. And it is like 50 degrees today as well.
Yeah.
So.
It's more like the melting. It's more
Yeah.
the feeling like a... I'm trying to think of a metaphor that's not horrible. It's more just constantly being drenched in your own sweat right now. But even that's quite nice.
No, luckily it's nice and cool in the studio,
Yeah,
so we're being
exactly.
treated well today. Firstly, I just wanted to find out, given the overall situation at the moment, how life has been like for you during lockdown. Like how creatively, how's your productivity been? Like how have you found it day to day during what's been a really tough time for everyone?
I think that before lockdown, I was so unaware of what was going on in the world. And then I think maybe a week before the UK went into lockdown, I was in Berlin doing a modelling job and the whole city was in lockdown. And I was like, oh, something's going on. Okay, the week before that, I'd been in Brazil on holiday having the best time. So I just had no idea. I'm in Berlin, I'm like, this is happening. Kind of thought I would get trapped there for however long. I had packed like a suitcase full of everything I would need for 6 months just in case. But managed to get home. So kind of at the start of lockdown, I was just happy that I made it home and that I was going to be able to be at least in my own house.
Home comforts and all that, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I spend so much of my time living in hotels and things anyway. The idea of being alone in lockdown in a hotel was the scariest thing. So really, at the beginning, I was like, I'm home. That's fine. That's good. I think everyone creative felt at the start like, yeah, this is our time. Like what we were just saying, this is our time to do
definitely.
something.
Yeah.
But I think I very quickly rejected that because it's a pandemic. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it takes so much energy, I think, to survive under the new conditions. I know that sounds very dramatic, but we're not used to this. Like our lives were completely stripped back in a way that they've never been stripped back before.
Yeah.
So kind of just being able to get up and make it through another day was enough of an accomplishment, and I didn't want to put pressure on myself to do amazing things when just, dealing with it was amazing enough. And then I got into some collaging. Things that. It's the most time-consuming form of art I've ever found. I just sit there with this tiny knife, cutting out all these tiny shapes. That became like my therapy, just sitting.
I was going to say, it sounds quite therapeutic. That.
Yeah, I don't want to pressure myself into doing things that, I could have been really, really, really proud of, but I might have felt stressed about doing. This was like, I'm still doing it actually. It's a nice way to switch off and still be creative, but not feel stressed. At the start, I was like learning monologues, thinking maybe I'll post these online. Maybe I'll start a monologue chain and all the actors will be doing monologues and we'll be having the best time on the internet. But I didn't do it. I don't regret not doing it either because, I don't know.
I think it was a key thing you mentioned as well, as far as like not putting pressure on yourself, because even in my position, I was thinking, right, I've got, potentially 3 months off here alongside another job that I do, but 3 months to think about new projects, write some new stuff. I had like 6 projects I was thinking about making. Didn't even get around to doing one of them in the end. So it was quite deflating. But then I was thinking, I'm just putting myself under too much pressure here. Just go with the flow and just try and put things into perspective as to what's happening out there at the moment.
That's the thing, though. When in lockdown, there was no pressure. There's no time pressure. The days are endless. So for me, I didn't have that thing. I work so well under pressure. I didn't have that thing of like, I have to do something. I just sort of, like I said, all the days rolled into one. Just been waking up late, walking the dogs, which has actually been... I don't like sitting still. I don't like not working.
Absolutely.
Yeah, at the beginning of lockdown, I was like, I will not survive. I was very dramatic. I just didn't know how I would be able to cope with my life being in one place, because most of the time I'm at an airport, on a train, surrounded by strangers. That's my normal. And I haven't been in my house. I hadn't been in my house for a month straight. And suddenly suddenly I actually like live in a house and I know my neighborhood, which is really nice. And I've slept more than I've ever slept in my life. And I'm like, I don't know, full of energy and raring to go after that.
And I think that's a massive positive to take from lockdown, that you actually feel refreshed now.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of, now you're ready to move on to whatever's coming next for you. So that's, yeah, I mean, to get through lockdown and have that level of energy back, that's you can't really, you know, hope for anything better, can you, from this situation?
And that's also why I'm glad I didn't put pressure on myself to do things that were really amazing and big, because, you know, it just personally, to just be able to sleep and to just, you know, hang out with the dogs.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I
ditched the script writing and just turned to Scrabble. So that got me through each day.
Some good words though.
Yeah, I have.
You're looking at the thesaurus and you were like, "Oh, I like that one."
Didn't know it existed, but it's got me a lot of points. So, happy days.
We tried to play Monopoly, but it turns out neither of us really care for Monopoly. It's a bit long, isn't it?
Yeah. So just going back to the beginning then, like, how did you first get into modelling?
So I was first scouted when I was in year 9. So how old is that? 14? 14?
Mm-hmm.
Was I 13? 13 or 14, on a school trip to Paris, Christmas time, walking along the Champs-Elysees with my 2 friends. His car just stopped. This woman gets out, runs up to me, starts speaking in French. I'm like, je suis anglais. And turns out she was a model scout and she wanted to sign me. It kind of turned out she was a mother agent. She wasn't an official agent. But we didn't go with her. And I was a kid and my mum was there. Not in Paris, my mum was kind of overseeing it all. So that didn't go ahead, but that was the first time it sort of had been introduced to me, as well as like just generally being a very tall child and parents being like, you should be a model, and just sort of it being a thing that was talked about around me, if that makes sense.
So had that seed already been planted then before that day in France? Or?
Yeah, no, I don't think, because I was so shy as a kid. I only got into performing when I was 12 or something. I don't think if other people hadn't said you should be a model, that wouldn't have come into my mind at all. Like, it's such a I'm here kind of job, and I was not a I'm here kind of person. But I guess I just sort of started falling in love with it and started reading Vogue and looking at all the beautiful editorials and thinking, I want to make art like that. I want to be in that, and learning more about the industry. I was obsessed with America's Next Top Model. So I really thought that was what modelling was like. I was like, wow, this looks so fun, all these challenges and games. Obviously, that's not what it's actually like. But yeah, that happened. And then I think when I was about 16, it was in the back of my mind a lot, and I wanted to do it, but my mum wanted to wait until I was older, which obviously at the time I resented, but on reflection I'm like, thank you so much. And then I think I went to go and see some agencies and no one wanted me, and everyone told me I was fat when I was 14, 15. And then when I was 16, I signed with an agency. I was with them for a year, which they told me I was fat and I didn't get any work. And then I was scouted by a new agency who I've been with ever since, who've never told me I'm fat and I love. So,
wow, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like came into my life very young, I think. So
did you literally just leave school then and then just went into full-time modelling, or like how did that
story.
How did that go?
Story. This is my favourite story of my life, because I'm like, at the time I was like, yeah, whatever, like just going along with it. And then I look back and I'm like, I'm insane. I'm actually, like, if I was my own child, I'd be sent to boarding school. I would not let me out. So I did, when I was 16, I did National Youth Theatre, which is the best thing ever. The best fortnight, well, one of the best fortnights of my life. Made lifelong friends and had the best time. And a year later, I've been applying for all the open castings on the open castings page, just thinking something might come up. Why not? Taking chances. A year later, I got a job. My kind of first self-tape. And I ended up getting the role. It's a film called 2 Hours. and it's my second year of sixth form. I was meant to go back in September, and I just came up to London for 5 weeks to film. And then I just got signed by Next, my agency, my modelling agency, just before I did the film.
Mm-hmm.
And they booked me a modelling job in South Africa. I'd never been on a long-haul flight before. In South Africa for 4 days, and the money was amazing. So I did this film. I was like, I've done a film. And I got my acting agent. I was like, I've got my acting agent. Okay. Suddenly,
and you played quite a prominent role in that film as well, didn't you? One of the...
In 2 hours,
yeah.
Yeah, it was just like a trio of friends running around London. It was the best first job ever, I think. Because I was with my peers, I was with people my age, and I think that especially when you're coming into the industry, it makes such a difference to be able to be on a project with people who are in the same boat as you. You know,
absolutely,
we were all in our last year of sixth form, and kind of that age where you just started drinking a bit and hanging out with the boys. I went to a girls' school, so I was hanging out with boys, having the best time, just like being messy and stuff like that. And it makes my heart feel warm to think about that film, because it was just fun, just pure fun. And especially having an independent project as a first job, it's a smaller crew, it's more relaxed, it didn't feel so big and scary, you know, not having things like makeup trailers or even trailers. Actually, we didn't have trailers, we were just hanging out in rooms and stuff. I guess it doesn't feel like what you think it would feel like making a film when you don't have those things, but in a way that's good, because you are getting to know who everyone is and what exactly a day on set looks like, you know. And
so you're kind of like on the front line of it at that point, aren't you? Where you can see how it all works in a lot more detail.
Exactly, and you don't always get that on bigger things, because they're just so much bigger and there's so many more people, and you know, as cast you can be separated a bit more from the crew, whereas independent films, I find at least, it's a bit more kind of like passion. Everyone's just passionate. Everyone gets their hands dirty.
Yeah.
So basically, I finished the film, I got the modelling job, suddenly I've got money, I'm literally just studying drama and performing arts, and I had an agent, like an acting agent. I thought I was going to be going to drama school for 3 years in the hope of getting an agent, and suddenly I have the most amazing woman and her team looking after me and my modelling agents. I was like, I'm going to go. But
so before the whole, like the 2 hours film, had you had a lot of acting experience at all by that point? Like, was it literally zero? You had... No. Did you have any training? Like, what did you have to do to like prep for that role?
I've never been taught to act. That's how I would word it. I've done training and things which have made me more confident and made me more aware of my body, perhaps. And I did do a course for a little bit learning Meisner technique, which was really interesting, but I've never been taught how to do it. And for me, that works. I don't think that works for everyone. Some people do have techniques. I feel really weird talking about it, because I don't really know how to explain what my technique is.
But I mean, a lot of people would say that you can't actually teach acting. Either you've got that X factor or you don't. That's what a lot of people would say.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, but I think that you can be taught how to be better at certain things. For example, I'm not a stage actor, I've never done stage, but I would definitely look into some sort of training if that was a route I wanted to go down, because I like film. I like things being small and intimate, and it's all behind the eyes and all of that. I don't know how to be present like that on a stage. So things like that, I think so. But I do also think you learn a hell of a lot from experience. And I mean that in terms of life experience, living your life, going through different things, and experience on set, working with other people.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you about modelling is generally, what is it like as a career? Because generally in the past, being a successful model was something very, very difficult to do. It felt like there was only a select few models that became household names. But how has social media and the internet changed that now? Like, what's your whole kind of take on that?
Well, first of all, I would say that I think that modelling is still an industry where there are like the supers, kind of the same as in acting. You've got like the household names that everyone knows. So right now it's probably like Bella Hadid, Gigi Hadid, and Kendall Jenner, all of them, because they are everywhere and they're at the very top. For me, I full-time modelled for... So I left home when I was 17. I moved to London with this money I'd got from this South Africa job. Happy days. And I full-time modelled for, I think, about 9 months. And I just didn't want to do it full-time anymore because it was just too much pressure for me. It was something I did while I was trying to get acting jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So my relationship with it is a bit more in and out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that definitely over the past, 5 years, social media's changed it all, because now people go to castings and Instagram count matters, because, you know, if you're doing a commercial job and it's about selling a product, if you as a model have loads of followers, then they can sell more. And I think I feel like it's sort of like models are creating their own brands, you know? Like, I am the brand of Ella-Rae Smith and this is my vibe. And over lockdown, I had a few kind of castings and putting together, like, I put together a mood board of what my house looked like and things like that if I had to shoot things at home. It's more kind of, here I am. I did a Rimmel job, which was my dream modelling job.
I was going to ask you about that, but you beat me to it.
Sorry.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
But that's like, that was an absolute dream to do something like that, because, yeah, it's about being beautiful and things like that, but it's also about personality and having fun, and that was probably my favourite modelling job ever.
I saw some of the adverts and the promotional campaigns. They look great. Yeah.
It's really strange when you're everywhere. Like, I don't feel comfortable with the fact that I'm in like every Boots in the country. That freaks me out. But also I'm like, I'm the Rimmel girl. Like, wow. And I wasn't expecting that. I think that for me, having had eating disorders before I started modelling, it just wasn't a good environment for me. It just, and it's weird because I feel kind of subconscious about saying that, but I don't think that I should, because it's my reality. And I think that to be a successful model, you have to be a businesswoman and you have to really be able to separate, you know, what you look like and your worth.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, like, my agency never pressured me to lose weight, the agency I'm with now. But I found myself getting into unhealthy patterns just from being around other women who were thin, and from putting that pressure on myself. So I know for me, I wouldn't be able to do it full time, because I just can't do it. If you can handle that, then yeah, 100% go for it. But
yeah.
I think the industry has changed in a lot of ways in terms of weight and size and what girls look like. I know that my agency have like a doctor come in and make sure that all of the girls are okay before they go and do fashion week, and that's amazing. That's responsible. I think all agencies should do that. But you know, I'm gluten intolerant because of the modelling agency I used to be with, because they told me like to not eat carbs for a year to try and lose weight. There's so many stories like that
tough.
that are messed up and no one talks about it. I think you just have to have your head really screwed on.
Yeah. So just moving on to your acting then.
Yeah. Oh God, we're going to be here for... This is a fun bit now, though. Let's not talk about modelling anymore. I love it, but that's not.
Yeah. So just in terms of the genres that you've actually sort of worked on so far, I mean, you've been in comedies, you know, Marley's Ghost. You've been in The Commuter with Liam Neeson, obviously a thriller action film. Clique on BBC Three, which was more of a drama. Into the Badlands, fantasy / martial arts / a lot of stuff going on there. But is there any particular genre that you like working on more than others?
That's a good question. In terms of like actual genre of the project, I don't really mind, but I would say contemporary things are a million times easier, because, you know, you do something contemporary, you pop on a pair of jeans, shoes, whatever in the morning. Badlands, I had a corset dress every day that it took help to get into it. And it was really hard to pee. It was beautiful though, and I did feel really badass. But yeah, I mean, that's not really answering your question, but I feel like obviously if you're on a comedy, you know what's funny and how things need to land if it's that kind of thing. Or I think you're most aware when you're on comedy, but I know that Badlands is a fantasy martial arts thing, but to me it's drama. You know, my work is drama, Clique, drama, Liam Neeson, drama. I feel like for me in my mind and acting, it's just funny or dramatic. I'm like, which way shall we go?
Yeah,
you know, no matter where we are, if we're in space or underground or whatever, it's just knowing if got that little bit of cheekiness or about to cry or whatever.
For sure,
you know?
yeah, I get you, yeah. So moving on to The Commuter then with Liam Neeson, I've got to ask you, I'm a big fan of Liam Neeson, so what was it like to work with him?
It's got a good story, but it's really embarrassing.
No pressure.
I can't believe I'm going to tell
no pressure.
it. No, I'm going to tell it. So, first of all, I did not think I was going to get this job. It was my second film. I did not think I would get it. I was absolutely convinced. I remember phoning my mum, coming out of the audition, crying, going, I've just been terrible and they all hate me. And I got the job. What?
Amazing.
And I remember going to Pinewood for the read through, and like, you know, you drive up to the gates of Pinewood and you're like, wow. I just couldn't believe it because it's, you know, it's really real. And they were filming Paddington 2, and I remember seeing, you know, in Paddington 2, the little prison thing. I remember seeing that set. They were prepping for Nutcracker, and I remember, like, seeing all sorts of crazy things travelling past, and the green screen was still up from Star Wars. It's like, you go to a place like that, and you realise, I'm in the movie business.
Yeah,
okay.
You've arrived.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was really, really amazing. And the whole shoot was actually really fun. We basically just sat on a train for 10 weeks. It was incredible as well. Like this New York style train built in a massive studio, green screens on either side. Everything was shot at Pinewood, pretty much. And I'd never done anything so like that. The train also moved in real life, which was pretty sick. It went up and down, shook side to side. So I had a meeting with the director, and he said to me, I want you to be like really method, you know, like don't talk to Liam because your character wouldn't, so don't talk to Liam for the entire shoot. So I'm like, yeah, okay. 18, I'm like, okay, sure. I spent a month ignoring Liam Neeson. I've been like outside, he'd be like, hey Ella, I'm like, and run away. And I started to get really, really anxious about it. I said to the makeup artist, I was like, oh God, I'm ignoring Liam, and you know,
it's getting a bit awkward now.
Yeah, I've been told to do it, and I'm trying to like work really hard and they're like, that was definitely a joke. It was a joke. The director was joking the whole time. So I just spent a month ignoring Liam Neeson for no reason. I don't think I've told him that. No, he doesn't know that. Not that we're.
Because I was thinking, like, were you told that because it was going to have an impact on your on-screen relationship with him? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. But it was funny. It was a joke that I don't mind. It's funny on reflection because I'm so gullible. Obviously, I would have been like, yes, of course, I will not talk to him. But it was amazing. It was really lovely. It was a really lovely film in that it felt like, obviously Liam was the star of it, but it felt like an ensemble piece in that everyone else had their sort of moment with Liam. You know, we're all in the movie, then we all have our little like one-on-one time. And it was absolutely terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. But he was so lovely because my role was emotional, and I'm from New York, and I'm crying and all of that.
Because you had a good scene with Liam towards the end, didn't you? There, like where it was an emotional scene. It's quite gripping actually when I first watched that. But is he quite like an intimidating guy to be around, or is he like a gentle giant?
No, he's lovely. He's so lovely. Very, very, very generous actor, and made me feel completely at ease. And I think that's probably why he's had this amazing, long and varied career, because people love working with him. I always feel like, you know, actors who are successful are just really lovely because people love working with them. So yeah, I think it was more just like, he wasn't the scary part. at the end of it, it was just, acting.
Yeah.
In front of all
yeah.
these people.
Yeah.
But
well, you pulled it off, to be fair. So
thanks. I hope
Yeah.
so. I don't know. I don't know.
But moving on to Into the Badlands then. So again, something totally different. It's the fantasy genre, martial arts, a lot of fighting scenes. I'm guessing a lot of choreography that's needed there. The costumes, the makeup, etc. The black eyes that your crazy character, whatever was going on there, I'm not sure.
That's CGI. Black eyes are CGI. There's really
I was
scary.
thinking, like, if you can, the whole black eye thing, right?
Yeah.
You can pull that off, and then you're the face of Rimmel London. I mean, if that's not range, I don't know what is. What was your what was your given the nature of your character Nix, who you played? Did you have to prepare any differently, apart from allowing a lot more time to get into your outfit?
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you had to do?
The main thing. No. I mean, the thing is, with something like fantasy, I remember Ella-Rae Smith, who plays Tilda, she's been in the season, not in the season, she was in the show since season 1. And I remember talking to her about things, and she was like, they're just people, take everything away and they are just people. So I think that's the approach I took to it. And I'm very grateful to have had that conversation with her, because if you take away all of the layers of the world that Miles and Al, the creators, created, they are human beings.
Yeah.
And they all have motivations and feelings and stuff. So I think the process was really just kind of stripping everything back and understanding, who is this girl? Who are these people around her, and what do they mean to her? And when you're on a big show like that, you don't get the scripts all at once. They come out slowly. So then you kind of slowly get your character's storyline. Yeah. So as it was coming out, I was like, okay, well, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more just taking away the fantasy and just being like, she's a real person. Yeah. And these are her problems, and this is how she's going to solve them.
And that's a really sort of interesting thing you've said there in terms of simplifying your approach to the role when there's a million things going on at once.
Oh, but you have to.
Yeah. You
have to, because when you pick up a script for something that's fantasy or set in a different world, you're just like, what? Yeah. What happened there? But everyone's a human. So for Nix, for example, she's in a cult. She's a young girl in a cult. She's been brought up and taught that this cult is the best thing ever, and she has her brother, and that's the only person she has to confide in, and the only person who really understands her, and these two sort of parent figures. And then her brother dies, so obviously her world ends. And then she slowly starts questioning what's going on. Take away all of the fact that, she has this magical power and she can fight and all of that, which does come into it too. But basically, she's lonely, She doesn't know who she is, and she's trying to find out who she is. And she doesn't know if she's good or bad. Yeah. And she wants to be good, and she thought she was good, and she realizes she was bad, and she wants to be good again. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
But Badlands was, for me, probably the biggest education of all the jobs, because I very much learn on the job, and I'm hands up, but I'm sorry to the people who I worked with in like early career, even though I don't think I've ever been bad at work, but I think I've just been getting used to it, It's a lot to get used to.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Even now having cameras, to just be able to just talk to you and not think about them. That's a skill that you learn with time, I think.
Yeah, well, I'm still learning, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Yeah. It is weird. It's like if we're on the street and someone took out their phone and took a photo of you, your instant reaction would be like, you always feel a bit aware when there are cameras on you. It's like learning to not be aware of that. But the way that we shot Badlands was just like, I've never done anything like this. And after that, I feel like I can do anything. Yeah. We filmed for, I think, 9 months, maybe 8 months. We had 2 units all the time. So you have your kind of main unit, which was drama, where you kind of go and do your acting. Yeah. And then the fight unit. Yeah. Which is where we did all the fighting and these amazing choreographers.
Did you do your own stunts, Ella-Rae? Or was someone drafted in for that? 3?
No, because we had a stunt team. There were probably as many stunt artists as actors. Yeah. and different people kind of swap around and become you at different times whenever they're free.
Well, some of the fight scenes go on for like literally 10 minutes at a time in Badlands. I mean, the choreography is amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's
yeah.
absolutely insane. And I'd never really watched martial arts before that. I didn't know anything about it. And then, you know, my first day on set was a fight scene. If you've watched it, you know, the Chow Towers fight at the start when they're flying through the air.
I've seen it, yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Done my research. Don't worry about me. I'm all right.
Can you imagine though? Like I can't remember what happened, but they have a fight camp beforehand. I couldn't make it to all of fight camp because of signing contracts or something. So I'd had about 2 days of practicing with swords. Go in. That's like my first week filming, and at first I was terrified because I was like, how do I do this? But Mikey, the first AD, who's an absolute saint and one of my favourite people I've ever worked with, he was like, the way we film this is so easy, and it's like bite-sized little chunks of fight, and I would do what I could do, which basically means the things that weren't too technical, and then any of the amazing stunt doubles who were around would do the more crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So it was kind of making that show was such hard work because you're always kind of needed. You're either drama doing kind of what you're used to, normal job, or you're on fight unit doing all this fight stuff. So you're kind of constantly between two, which I kind of love because it's more interesting and like you never know who you're going to be with. I've never worked that hard, and now I have. I feel like I can do literally anything, you know, like I'm not tired at all compared to how tired I was.
You don't know what tiredness is unless you've been on Badlands.
Wow. So I was saying that Vikings shoots in Ireland as well, and apparently Vikings is more hardcore. Vikings, they go out in all sorts of weathers, I've heard from an Irish cruiser, like Vikings is the hardcore one. That's the one where you're like, you will be out on a hill in the rain. But not so much of that for us.
So just moving on to your role in The Stranger. Did you realise at the time that it would go on to be as popular as it went on to be? Because I remember when we first kind of went into lockdown, that was the first thing I kind of got addicted to watching. So I don't know if it was good timing or
it was perfect.
I did kind of feel that,
but it was doing really, really, really well on Netflix before lockdown. When it came out, we were like in the top 10 for I don't know how long, a long time. So I think lockdown gave it like a second kind of push, but it came out and was really good as soon as it came out, which was amazing. I think that when we were making it, we all knew that we were making something very strong. Red, the production company, are amazing. They did Years and Years and other cool stuff. So yeah, they're a great production company. Harlan Coben, who wrote the book, is an amazing guy. Our writers are amazing directors. It was just a lovely, lovely crew of people who really knew what they were doing and knew the story they were telling.
I think from a storyline perspective, just to jump in there, I was going to say that normally a lot of these whodunit type mystery kind of dramas, you get halfway through it and you kind of have a good feeling as to who it is or how it's going to pan out. With this one, didn't have a clue. It literally got right to the last 10 minutes and I was like, oh, okay, right. It kind of like kept me guessing anyway the whole way through, and that's why I sort of like really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's so fantastically written that you're lost and invested in all of these different storylines, which then somehow are all interlinked. I think we made a perfect whodunit, if I say so myself. I'm really, really proud of it.
I mean, when I was first looking through your credit sheet, I was thinking, you know, you've actually had a really busy last few years, but to the point where you've got to now, like how would you like your acting career in particular? How would you like to see it develop in the years to come? Where do you see yourself going from here?
Good question. I think I'm at a place now where I'm just more confident. And that's the thing I'm taking forward. I'm more confident and I just know more.
Yeah.
After just, you know, however long of working really hard. I think that for me, independent film is my favourite favorite thing to make. I like getting my hands dirty, and I find it a bit uncomfortable sometimes when cast are treated as being like above crew. I don't like that. I'm a crew member too. Do you mean, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a crew member, but I can't like break my leg because I'm not replaceable in that way. But I like feeling collaborative, and I feel like that on independent films, and I really enjoy working with people instead of for people. That's how I word
absolutely.
it. I think that the next few years, hopefully more independent films. I mean, I'm making an independent film now, and then I'm going to do one in November in Ireland, and I have 2 coming out maybe this year. So I'm kind of like finding myself in that direction anyway. But yeah, I think I'm more, and also like on the business side of things and practically thinking about things. I love doing TV, but I don't really want to be in. I mean, it depends on the show. If there was something that really was and spoke to me, then I want to do it. But the idea of being in like a long contract of a TV show, I'm not like, you know, I've done that before, and I personally love hopping around and playing different characters rather than the stability of being one.
Yeah.
So hopefully, more films, more exciting stuff, maybe moving into different parts of the industry.
Right, sounds intriguing.
Well, one of my...
What are these different parts?
Oh, God. Okay.
Listen, you've said it now. You know I've got to ask you.
So I did a film last summer, which was the best experience I've ever had making a film. It's called Sweetheart, and it's a LGBT film. I don't know when it's coming out yet, but I'm so excited. We all lived in a caravan park on the coast of Dorset for like 3 weeks. All the cast, all the crew, no phone signal, and we only had like an hour of Wi-Fi a day. I just went for cliff walks every day, living in my little caravan, hanging out, having the best time. We had barbecues on the weekend. It was just like a little family that came together, and everyone cared so much about the story we were telling and what we were making, and I've never felt that like involved in the whole thing. Because I'm more than happy to come in, learn my lines, do my thing, go. But feeling like you're part of the fabric, because I find like decisions and things like that very interesting as well, and I guess it's kind of using my experiences of all of the different things I've done, and all the different places I've ended up living, and the different styles of shoot and whatever, kind of using that knowledge to think about, well, how could I myself make something that is a combination of all the good things and things that work. You know what I mean?
Just in closing then, I mean, considering your journey in both modelling and acting, what would be your advice to anyone, you know, aspiring, any young people out there that are looking to either get into the acting world or the modelling world? Like, is there anything else that you could, you know, any really good, useful bits of advice that you could pass on?
If someone's interested in doing film and television, I would say do a film course. You can act on it, but just so you have that knowledge, and so you know what's going on, because you know there's a lot going on all the time. There are all sorts of jobs that I'd never even heard of, and I think to just be aware of what you're going to step into can help eradicate some of those kind of nerves and confusion and stuff. I also think being nice to everyone is the number one most important thing you can do in this industry, because it is small. People know each other. You don't know what anyone's going to do or who anyone's going to become. So I think my biggest piece of advice is just always be nice to everyone, because if you're an asshole, can I swear?
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you're an arsehole, people are going to know about it. Everyone's going to talk about it, and people won't want to work with you. It's just as simple as that. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not nice,
and you're,
people
like
will
you
know
just said,
that.
it's actually a smaller world than you think. So you might actually come across that person
Well, yeah,
in the
exactly.
future, and then there might be a bit of an issue there, you know.
I don't think you should ever. I mean, generally, you shouldn't treat people badly, but in this industry, that can come back and bite you so hard. You know, I, although I've got lots of credits and stuff, and I've been doing this for a while, I'm never kind of snobby about things. I still say yes to short films and doing smaller things because, first of all, I like working like that. I like doing smaller things, and also, those people are the future. Those creatives who I will like have the privilege of working with are going to be the next people making the next amazing films. And I don't think that as an actor, how big or small you are, you should ever shun anyone or anything, because you don't know, you know. And it excites me as well. But I just did a film to raise money for the NHS with the most wonderful director and producer, and we'd never met before, and I'm really, really close friends with them after it. And I'm like kind of honoured to have, it sounds really cheesy, but I'm kind of honoured to have met them at this point before they get to where they're probably going to get to, and to be able to work with them and have a relationship with them, like that feels really important to me, you know? Well, actually, my advice for modelling and acting both is, if you want to do either of them, you need to learn resilience. And I learnt my resilience through modelling. Modelling made me really, really resilient. But you do have to be able to just bounce back after things, you know, constant rejection, which it sucks, but it's never personal. You have to remember that it's not personal as well, and learn that, because, you know, I can say that now, like, it's not personal, it's fine, whatever, but at the time when I was younger being rejected for things, I was like, it's personal, I'm terrible. So I think, yeah, learning resilience and to be able to let go and to be able to kind of, say yes. To be able to say yes and be free and not...
and go with the flow, like what you've been saying before, you know?
Yeah, just go with the flow. That makes it sound really simple. But I do, I don't know, it's chasing the fire in your belly. That's actually good advice.
Yeah, I mean, what a way to finish.
Hey kids, chase the fire in your belly.
But no, I just want to say, Ella-Rae, really appreciate you coming down today. It's been lovely meeting you and you know, listening to your story. It's been really, no, honestly, it's been really fascinating, really inspiring to hear about that natural journey that you've been on through both, you know, two very difficult industries.
But two fabulous industries.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it seems like you've made light work of both. So long may that continue. I wish you well for, you know, the other potential avenues that you might go down in the future. It's been really good. So thanks, Ella-Rae. Cheers.
Thanks, Alex.